G'day. Yeah, so 1:30. Yeah, we'll kick things off. So my name's Peter Kibble. The webinar today is just on proximal stages of development. So within accounting, really. So yeah, so for those that don't know, I mean, my background, I've been recruiting within accounting, finance for the last, I think, 13 years now, and have recruited across yeah, all aspects of accounting and finance, from AP, AR, payroll, that sort of stuff, all the way up through to CFOs, and then also within professional services as well. During that time, I would have met, yeah, about 2,500 CFOs, commercial managers, and about as many partners as well. So, so what we're going to talk about today, like very briefly, what you know, an overview of proximal stages of development. How does this relate to accounting? How size of business can affect your long-term career options and developmental stages. So grinders, minders, finders. Yeah, again, those terms are a little bit coarse, but they are what they are. So yeah, so proximal stages of development. So zone of proximal development is a concept in educational psychology, originally developed by Lev, I'm going to have to guess that last name, in the early part of the 20th century. And like in its loosest terms, it refers to the idea that you can't, you know, if you try to run before you can walk, you're destined to crawl. So focusing on the next stages in your development will ensure the quickest progress, even if at first glance it feels like the long way around. So yeah, so conceptually, I think it's really applicable to accounting and finance, but yeah, it is a bit of a long bow. So yeah, how does this relate to accounting? So if you break down the three types of roles you have in any businesses, and I don't actually think it really matters whether it's an accounting role or, you know, a marketing role. You've got three types of yeah, people at three different levels, effectively. So you've got grinders, so people who come in and get the work done. So they will need some guidance from time to time, but ultimately, you know, they're there to get the work done. Minders are people who you can probably trust with a problem. So you would probably go to a minder and say, look, build that wall over there. And I'd just get on with it and build the wall, you know, whereas the grinder would probably need to be told, you know, where the bricks go on the wall, kind of thing. And then you've got finders, people who will solve a problem. So, you know, like are able to effectively influence stakeholders, clients, and will ultimately run their own race. So, you know, using the building analogy, a finder, you just go and say, build me a house, and they'd go build the house. So yeah, so they're the three types of roles, I think, broadly speaking, within any business. So why is this a useful framework? So basically, I firmly believe that it is an effective framework to help you evaluate which businesses you should be working for, and really evaluate an actual career opportunity based on, firstly, where you are in your developmental stage, and then what the business or what the actual job you're going for is going to allow, like what sort of skills that job is going to allow you to develop. So really it comes down to access to opportunity to develop the skills you need to progress from grinder to miner to finder, and then that should be the main or primary consideration when you're considering a job. Now, like a lot of this relates to, I think, the first 7 years of your career. Like once you get past 7 years, you know, you should be in a position where you're pretty comfortable, pretty confident in what you're doing. And you should be able to go out and influence people pretty effectively. And then, you know, like your considerations for a job might come down to things like work-life balance and, you know, being able to, yeah, work-life balance really, and other things like money and that sort of stuff. So business size, like using this framework, like business size is rarely going to be the greatest predictor of success. And like we're going to go into a bit of detail around this in a second. But like most people, when they're considering a role, especially within an accounting firm, yeah, but most people, like I think it is applicable to commerce as well. They'll make a decision based on the size of the business. So we're going to go through the reasons why that's in my opinion, flawed. But you know, at the end of the day, but yeah, we're going like there are some really good roles in big businesses that are perfect for people at all stages of their development. But that is not the predictor of success in a role. Like it comes down to what you're actually going to be doing, who you're going to be working with, and access to opportunity. So so when you're considering a role, like it's really important that you take the time to step back to ask yourself, like, the business that I'm joining, like how do they view me? So like if you think about it like this, like a large firm or larger firms, mid-tiers, etc., will be very focused on career trajectory. So before accepting a role in a larger firm, like you really need to be asking yourself, what are they actually hiring me to do? How many other people in the business are going to be doing the same job as me? How many people in the business are doing the job I want to be doing in 18 months' time, compared with the people in the business who, comparing my own experience and skills and attributes and all that sort of stuff with the people currently in the business, who is more likely to be promoted and in turn be given access to opportunity to develop the skills that will make me more valuable. So like, this is a really horrible thing to say, but like larger firms or larger businesses, like they'll have a group of people that they have earmarked for promotion in the business. And then they'll have a group of people that are there, you know, they'll progress through the business, but they'll be there to do a job. And so like the question you need to be asking yourself, like if you're joining, I don't know, a top 10 accounting firm, for example, are they hiring you because they see you as a future leader within the business, or are they hiring you because they know that you can churn out the work? And yeah, and depending on what stage you are in your career, like this has to be a really important consideration, because there are people that will just get stuck in roles in these bigger places, and that won't progress and won't necessarily get given access to the opportunity to develop the skills necessary to, you know, ultimately do the job that they want. So anyway, so developmental stages. So grinders, like if you're a grinder, like I would argue that a grinder would be anyone who's completing the CA. So the first 3 years of your accounting career. So assumption is that technical skill development should be the most important consideration. So the criteria then, if you're evaluating a role, should come down to the number of people completing the CA at the same time as you, resources available to people during that period, staff turnover in the business, staff turnover in the business that you're joining. So there is a serious switching cost, and the earlier you are in your career, the greater that cost is effectively. So like you don't want to be changing jobs unless you actually absolutely have to in the first 3 years. Like I would argue that like I don't want to say that it's not worth it, because it is for a lot of people. Like if you're working in a firm where you know, where it's just you doing the CA and you're reporting directly into the partner, and you know everyone's running around with like chickens with the head cut off kind of thing. You're going to, you know, there is value for you in changing roles to a much more stable environment. So the next consideration, work-life balance. So this is, I guess, a little bit controversial to say at the moment, but you know, we get a lot of people coming to us and saying, oh, look, I want to work from home 3 days a week and have really good training and blah, blah, blah. Like, the honest truth is that you are far better off. The training, the learning, development, all that sort of stuff is going to be far better when you're in the office. And the reason why it's going to be better in the office is because, like, there's less barriers to asking questions. There's less barriers to, you know, talking to people around, you know, any like little problems that you're having, and you're just going to get more regular feedback. And so, and then the other thing as well is, like, when you're working from home, especially in the first 3 years of your career, like, you need to be building up your professional network. Like, you need to actually be building up your ability to communicate effectively with your peers and all that sort of stuff. So there are lots and lots of reasons why you should be going into the office every day. So work-life balance, fair day's work for a fair day's pay. So not I need to work from home 12 days a week because I don't like catching the bus 30 minutes to work. Look, there are businesses that will allow you to do that, right? But the question is whether or not they're going to be the right places for most people at that stage of their career. And then, yeah, finally, how the hiring business is likely to view you. So again, it all comes back to, you know, if you're joining a firm with the idea that you're going to get promoted quite quickly, et cetera, but you know you're competing against people who've completed cadetships in that same firm on the same salary, like you do need to ask yourself who's going to get promoted first. Like, yeah. Developmental stages. So next on minders. So assumption would be, like, by the time you become a minder, like you should be pretty strong technically. So you should probably, I would argue that this is probably people with 3 to 5 years experience, and you should be strong enough technically. Like you should be able to do your job in your sleep, basically. And it's more about how you're developing those people management skills. So so the criteria, you need to be given the opportunity to make mistakes and live with those mistakes. So I would argue then that minders assumption would be you need to be given a level of autonomy, space to make mistakes, and opportunity for regular progress. So the criteria then for assessing an opportunity should come down to staff turnover. Now, staff turnover, this is a theme that's developing. You don't want to be switching jobs too frequently. It's as simple as that, unless you absolutely have to. How work flows to you. So are you going to be given the opportunity to speak with clients and stakeholders and live with the consequences of your mistakes? Or are you just going to be getting paid more to do the same job as you're doing, churn out the work? So it's a big difference between making a mistake and going to the partner and saying, oh, I made a mistake, versus having to explain to a client like why you made a mistake, like, yeah, and really taking ownership over that. The next point is just the criteria, would be access to senior management. So, you know, you want, the reason why you want access to senior management at this stage in your career really is because you need people in your corner, and you need people to be saying, no, this person needs to be given more opportunity, and you want them to be like engaged in your success. And then again, how the hiring business is likely to view you. So it all comes back to, you know, how do you compare to the people currently in the business, and are they likely to promote you or the person that's already working there? Finders. So once you're approaching this stage, like, you need to find yourself a business where you can see yourself going from senior supervisor to senior manager, and be working for a partner that is invested in your success. Like, you need to be working for a business where they're going to go, okay, I'm going to say Peter because it's me. We're going to give you the opportunity to develop these clients, and we expect you to take the revenue from X to Y, and that's what you really want. So obviously you do want the partner to, like they're going to help you, hopefully, but you want to be given that opportunity to really develop clients. So the criteria then should be absolutely direct access to clients, track record of career development within a business. Ask yourself how many people have gone from senior to director in the business that you're joining, and then again, staff turnover. And I'd like, with all this staff turnover stuff, I think it's probably a good idea to actually consider staff turnover at what level. So, there are lots of really good businesses that are excellent at taking people from intermediate to senior supervisor, but a lot of people leave that business when they become a supervisor because, the business isn't growing exponentially. So the turnover at supervisor might be quite high, but the turnover at intermediate and senior might be quite low. So depending on what stage you are in your development, you want to be, depending on what stage you are in your development, like the staff turnover means different things. So, so summary. Look, grinders, there can be benefit in working at a larger firm, like, so 20 plus staff. And I actually think that most people, if you're completing the CA, like I started the CA at a small firm, there was only 15 staff. But I was one of the only people doing it. It was quite hard. So, you know, there can be benefit in working in a larger firm. And I do actually think most people probably benefit in the first 3 years of their career would benefit from working at a firm with 20 to 100 staff. The benefit, though, is usually derived from having lots of people completing the CA at the same time. There are a group of about 15 firms in Sydney, at least, who are amazing at developing people from graduate to senior, and most of them have between 20 to 80 staff. Like they're firms. Sorry, we just lost the So there are firms in Sydney and across Australia, different locations as well, but Sydney mainly. That's what they do. That's their business model. They get intermediate, they get people at graduate, they develop them to senior, and they know that a lot of people are probably going to leave when they get to senior. But when those people do leave, they are well trained. They know exactly. They're just very, very strong accountants. And those are the firms that if you're at the start of your career, you really should be focusing on. And if you can get an opportunity in one of those 15 firms, and look, there are lots of firms with 20 to 80 staff that are terrible to work for. And so you want to avoid those firms. But, you know, if you get a job in one of the better firms in Sydney, then that is when it is worth moving from a smaller firm maybe, or a different moving firms in the first 3 years of your career, if you know you're going to be joining a business that will develop you properly. Minders, my view is that there is probably more benefit in working in a medium-sized firm, 10 to 100 staff at this stage in your career, than working at a 100+ staff firm. The main reason being you should have decent technical skills, so you want to be given the opportunity and freedom to make mistakes. So let's say, for example, you're a business services supervisor or senior, and you're thinking about changing jobs. So you are at about the minder level. Like the question you've got to ask yourself is, let's say you go to, say, a top firm number 5 on the AFR top 100. I don't know who it is, but it's one of 2 firms. If you go to that firm, you've got to ask yourself, like, who is actually responsible for developing those clients? Is it the seniors and supervisors? I don't know. Or is it going to be the partners that hold everything pretty close to their chest? So whereas if you go to, say, like I would argue probably 20 staff firm, 30 staff firm, like if you're a solid senior, and the partner can just trust you to do the work, they like a lot of, like, the more progressive firms will go, well, okay, just run with it, and you can manage the client relationship, no worries. Like obviously there'll be a handover period, but those smaller firms are just much more likely to give you that freedom. So at this stage career, working for you should be working at a 10 to 100 staff firm. The reason being, you should have decent technical skills, so you want to be given the freedom to make mistakes. Finders. So look, I think when you get to this sort of stage, you know, like there probably is benefit. Like I think it's hard to say what size. Like, you know, it's the predictor is not, again, it's never going to be size of firm. But you know, if you will usually have fees or the capability of generating fees. So it really just comes down to what kind of business you want to be working for. So in my, I speak from just a lot of the advice, I guess, comes from the way that I view the world. So I would much rather work for a business that is smaller, where, you know, people actually care if you're going to succeed or fail. Whereas, you know, rather than work for a much larger business where you're just one of many. So I think when you get to the finder level, you probably need to be making a decision about what kind of business you want to be working for, and also what sort of work, you know, who's going to offer you the work-life balance moving forward, and who's going to really offer you exactly what you want out of your life effectively. I will say, like, on the finder stuff, like, if you're a good solid manager, say, and you've built up a fee base, or you've been given the opportunity to build out fees, and I don't know, you got 150 grand or something in fees, like you've just got so much power when you're working in a smaller firm, and and like if you progress within that firm, and like say you stayed in a smaller firm, you built that fee base up to sort of 500 or whatever, then you like, if you want to go to one of those bigger places, like if you actually want to go to a, I don't know, top 10 firm for whatever reason, if you've got fees, you are joining under a totally different, you're joining the business in a much different way. Like, whereas if you're coming from, say, like a similar size business, so like a top 10 firm or whatever, and you haven't been off, like you don't think the fees are going to come with you, then you're just going to be joining that business as a manager. So I actually think you're much better off when you're at the finder stage working at a 10 to 50 staff accounting firm, where you're going to have direct access to clients, where you're going to be developing those clients and hopefully bringing in a few clients of your own, and where those clients are actually going to come with you if you change businesses. So yeah, so they're just a few things to think about. Look, you know, that was pretty short and sweet. I hope people got something out of it. If you are interested in having a bit more of a conversation around, yeah, all that sort of stuff and how it applies to you, feel free to get in contact. Details are there, and always happy to speak with people. And just to reiterate, like when we speak with people, we don't expect them to change jobs straight away. Like some people take a day to change jobs, some people take 3 years, so, or 10 years, or never. So yeah, feel free to get in contact. Always happy to speak with people, and yeah, thank you for attending.